Hello everybody, it's your old pal Cave Joel, and you are watching the story so far, the video series where I take a closer look at comic book arcs as they finish, so I can do a deeper dive on them and, really sink my teeth in and explore the themes and ideas that the writer was going for and what it could potentially mean to the bigger universe. I tried to keep this series limited to books that I enjoy, but don't get a chance to review individual issues of on the channel. For this episode, though, I'm throwing all of that out the window. I'm talking about Ms.Marvel, a book that you know I love, a book that I've been keeping up with since it began, but a book that because of summer events and because a bunch of different tie-ins that I've had to cover from the channel have taken precedent, I basically missed an issue, then another issue, then another, and now it's the end of July, beginning of August, and I'm 4 issues behind, and I figured, you know what, that's basically an arc, that's basically a volume. This will become volume 10 at some point, so instead of doing, the kind of catch-ups that I did for Daredevil a few weeks ago, I said, screw it, you know what, Ms.Marvel deserves a deep dive, Kamala Khan deserves, this style of video, so you know what, let's do it, let's catch up on what we missed, everybody. Now, if by chance you're just joining us with Ms.Marvel, in the arc previous to this one, Kamala went through really what I think all heroes go through at some point in their career. In fact, some heroes go through it multiple times. She went through what I affectionately call the Spider-Man No More moment when, she figured balancing her personal life and balancing her life as a hero was being too much, and that, her friends and family were continuously being hurt by her choices, and because of that, she decided to do away with all of it. Her friends ended up taking over the role of Ms.Marvel and helping defend the city. Another guy who helped out in that situation was, of course, Red Dagger, a vigilante from Karachi that Ms.Marvel was familiar with. Only, as we discover here, Dagger wants to be a lot more than familiar. It seems that he has, romantic inclinations to our young hero that he makes very well known here, and he even goes on in for a little smooch here in issue number 29. This is a big moment because, of course, if you've been following Kamala the whole time, this is her first kiss. This is a big moment right here. This is what we're going to be talking about, rendered on the page. Of course, because Kamala is a superhero, though, nothing can ever be easy, and because comic books are at their heart basically big soap operas with spandex, it is at that exact moment that her former sidekick, former best friend, and former love interest, Bruno, makes his reappearance. You'll recall that he was hurt during the events of Civil War II. He renounced Kamala Khan and Ms.Marvel, and he took off to Wakanda, which was kind of nice because they built him a brand new vibranium exoskeleton to make up for the horrible, debilitating injuries that he suffered while trying to help Ms.Marvel deal with what was going on in Jersey City at that time. There was a ton that was left to be said about these two best friends turned potential lovers. There was a lot left on the table, and that more or less makes up the background for these next few issues. It is a story, it is an arc, all about love, all about romance, and especially all about teen romance and how they choose to navigate their way through these very awkward and very uncertain waters. Bruno is, of course, still a little resentful to Ms.Marvel because of what happened to him, and Kamala is obviously resentful of Bruno for just up and leaving the way he did. He really, really hurt her, and that was, one of the other major contributing reasons as to, why she felt that she couldn't be Ms.Marvel anymore for the little window of time that she quit. They figured that, by the end of this, summer vacation trip, by the end of this, little sabbatical that Bruno was taking, he's going to have to ultimately decide whether he wants to return to Jersey City or if he wants to go back to Wakanda. And in fact, he brought his friend along with him, one of the many, many distant cousins of T'Challa, the Black Panther, who is just in love with American culture and is just, having a real laugh at Bruno's soap opera situation here. Kamala, she's completely torn here because, do you pick the new exciting love that could potentially be what's going on with Red Dagger, or do you go back to what is safe, familiar, and in many ways kind of unfulfilled? She knows that no matter what happens, she can't talk about this with her very strict Muslim parents, so she does what in my mind, from my culture, would be very unthinkable, and that is she goes to the church, or the mosque in this case, to talk to her priest, or Aman, as it's also known. The Aman has been a character. We've seen him since, Arc 1. And what's interesting about this, again, because I waited so long to talk about the story, I can kind of talk about this in the broader scope. Apparently a lot of more hardcore, more orthodox Ms. Marvel fans who are Muslim didn't actually like her kissing a boy. Apparently, G. Willow Wilson actually caught a surprise amount of flack over that, which I think is kind of undeserved because she makes that such a strong part of this story that, you know, her faith is something that, you know, she looks to in a time of crisis. And the Imam here is super, super understanding and actually super progressive about the whole thing. He's like, you know what, I teach you kids scripture, I teach you to have faith, I teach you all these other things, but you know what, I neglected teaching you about love, and that's a real problem of mine. That's something that I should most definitely have attempted to fix, is the thing there. You know, every generation feels like they invented love, and every older generation forgets what it's like to be in love and how they feel that that's all there is and that's the only world that matters and everything. And he says that, you know, Kamala, one way or another, you're going to have to decide here, and the decision you make will define what kind of person you're going to be moving forward. It's very heavy, but I think it's a very well done, very mature kind of scene, and something you don't see a lot in comic books, especially comic books dealing with young people, where young people are usually like, oh, you know, the clergy, my priest, my parents, they don't understand. They don't know nothing. Will Smith had it right when he said parents just don't understand.
But of course, as you know, if you follow this series like I have, that's just not the sort of person Kamala is. She respects authority outside her own. She actually does want to learn from people wiser than her, and she really does begin to take this under advisement. Now, it wouldn't be a superhero story if at the heart of all of this there wasn't also a supervillain threat to deal with. It seems that a brand new popular mean girl has moved into Jersey High there, and it's revealed that she has superpowers. She is super strong, and she says that, you know, she has it out for Ms. Marvel. Eventually, it is ultimately revealed that this girl is no girl at all. She is actually the latest avatar of Doc X, the evil sentient computer virus that threatened to out Kamala's secret identity to the world a few arcs back. Doc X's plan is simple but also quite insidious. You see, Doc X is aware that Ms. Marvel is Kamala Khan, and, you know, he wants to attend class in the guise of this popular mean girl, really to just kind of torture her and twist the knife in. She's also planning a spring fling dance wherein the, you know, subtext is that, you know, she'll probably reveal her dark secret there to the entire student body. That is, unless Kamala and her friends can stop Doc X, and they do in a pretty interesting way. They try and get out in front of it and basically be like, hey, if we don't have any secrets, can't out our secrets, right? That's one way to fight it. Again, too, this is also where Bruno and his friend from Wakanda show up, and basically everyone ends up working together, pooling their resources. In the end, they're ultimately able to topple Doc X and save the day. This also kind of means that Bruno and Kamala kind of, you know, reevaluate their situation with each other, and, you know, they kind of want to be friends again, but it just gets more and more confusing, where it's like, is this going to be more friendship? Is this going to be romantic? Where's the relationship going to go? Then, of course, there's the whole thing with Red Dagger. There's actually quite a hilarious scene in this arc where Kamala wonders, well, if I do continue my relationship with him, how does that change our dynamic? We don't even know who each other is under the mask. Is that, like, you know, a step that I'm going to want to take with a person? That's very, very intimate with a, you know, between superheroes, to trust someone with your secret identity. Heck, there's even people on her own super team, the Champions, of whom she's not sure who their identity is, and vice versa. So, you know, that's a roadblock for her, that's a hurdle, and it's something very interesting. Now, all of these different plot lines and soap operatics and teen romance and teen angst and all that good stuff ends up coming to a head in issue number 31, which is a very important issue because it's actually the 50th issue overall for Ms. Marvel. You know, people said, oh, it'll never make it, oh, it'll never do it, but no, it hit 50 issues overall, and they have a big celebration blowout issue with a bunch of different guest writers and artists on it. And what's really cool about it is they find a super fun kind of framing device for the anthology stories that they're going to tell. Basically, Kamala throws a slumber party at her house for her and her girlfriends, which, if you are the child of immigrants, you will know full well is super freaking difficult, because immigrant parents don't get this North American concept of a slumber party. What do you mean they come here? Why can't you go somewhere else? Why do they have to come here to my house? What? But yeah, she invites them all to the house under the guise of, hey, ladies, let's work through my relationship problems here. Who should I pick? Who should I choose? It's also, made a lot more awkward by the fact that Bruno's other ex, Mike, is also a friend of hers, and she's at the party as well, so it kind of takes on... There's a lot of layers. Kamala desperately wants to have this conversation and desperately wants to work through her issues, but things keep coming up to pull her away. There's Lockjaw, the Inhuman dog, who is chasing a teleporting kitten who tries to, get Ms. Marvel to help him out. That's done in very cutesy, very cartoony Tom and Jerry art style. Then Kamala has to deal with a very angry pizza delivery woman who is also an Inhuman, dealing with her own powers right now. They call her Skunk Girl because she has like a single shock of white hair, and her power is she can burn stuff with phosphorus, and if you know anything about phosphorus, it smells like rotten eggs. So she really got the short end of the stick being an Inhuman, and she hates Ms. Marvel because it's like, oh, you have everything, you get to be a hero, it's all great for you, you can stretch, but no one wants to hang out with Stinky Girl. And then the last kind of little story they do is she teams up with Miles Morales to go on a little mission there. And it's funny because they're actually trying to address how in the Champions book they kind of seek to imply that the writers there were, maybe possibly shipping Miles and Kamala in that book, but that's not gonna work now here in the main Ms. Marvel book. But G. Willow Wilson and all the people on this book at least, pay credit to it, where it's like, look, if you've been paying attention, we're not gonna punish you for not paying attention. I like that they do that. I wish more books would do that. The 50th issue eventually comes to one giant head, with Kamala thinking out loud to herself that, it's unfair that I keep punishing my friends and family because of my double life as Ms. Marvel. I can't even do something as simple as have a slumber party. I think I need to make the mature adult choice here and come clean to my friends, even if it means they'll stop being my friends. And, she eventually has that moment, the I'm Ms. Marvel moment, only to very sweetly discover that, hey, her friends always knew she was Ms. Marvel. She's actually very bad at keeping a secret. They don't think anything different of her at all. In fact, things are probably going to get a lot easier for her right now because she made a choice as a young hero that even some older heroes have trouble doing, and that is letting people in, letting people trust them, and, coming clean with them. Or if they do come clean with them, usually it ends in a deal with the devil or getting the purple children to erase everyone's minds. Those two just come to my mind right off the back. But there you go. That's the big 50th issue. And then issue 32, we once again continue to build on the Bruno-Kamala relationship. They're back together now, but they're not quite romantic yet. They're friends. They kind of need to learn to love again. And Bruno figures a good way to do that is for them to work on figuring out the real source of how her powers work. Obviously, he's been in Wakanda, he was getting his education right, and it made him think a bunch of stuff about her powers that he never really thought before, and that is, hey, you stretch, you change your size and everything, but you notice how your clothes change with you? You notice how it's not a Hulk situation? We thought you were just changing mass and everything, but maybe that's not true anymore. Maybe this has something to do with energy displacement. Maybe this has something to do with Pym particles. Maybe we can try and work on this. And he does, but the experiment ends up having both a literal backlash and a figurative backlash. The figurative one is that, basically it messes with Kamala's head, where it's like, oh no, maybe I don't understand my powers as well as I did. And it basically brings her back to where she is in issue 1, where she can't control where and when she embiggens, and that's a big problem for her. And in the midst of all of this, the shocker of all people, D-list Spider-Man villain, decides, you know what, I'm gonna go across the water to Jersey City. I bet I'm the only supervillain there. I bet I can take over the whole place. And it's funny because, Kamala, she's come such a long way as a young hero. And even though, Shocker is routinely made the butt of jokes and beaten up, at the end of the day, he still has more experience fighting superheroes. And, he comes there at a time when she can't control her power. She ends up shrinking down super small in the fight with him and getting lost. And Bruno has to find her again before eventually, staring down a Shocker shock gauntlet as the whole thing comes to a close. So, yeah, that is the story so far on Ms. Marvel Volume 10. Again, it doesn't have a title yet. I'm probably going to have to go back and change the title on this one when it eventually comes out, because I'm so ahead of the curve on this one. I thought it was really good. It's a shame I couldn't review these as they came out. They work really well individually. They work excellently together. It's no surprise this one has hit over 50 issues. It's no surprise Ms. Marvel has been one of the biggest success stories for Marvel recently, and also one of the things that has gone very much unchanged. in an era where everything seems to be changing because Marvel Fresh Start, I think even Marvel at their most boneheaded understood that they had something very special going on with G. Willow Wilson and the Ms. Marvel character, so they didn't touch it. They didn't do anything with it. They just let her write the story. And I think that's why it is as strong as it is. You know, this arc very much taps into the whole, like, you know, young adult romance fiction thing, but with a very, very strong background in superhero stuff. I think, you know, this is really enjoyable. Again, I mentioned before, the whole, you know, balancing your personal life and your vigilante life reminds me a heck of a lot of old Ditko Lee era Spider-Mans, and I definitely think this is the updated millennial version of that. G. Willow Wilson really does capture the voice of young people, probably because it wasn't that long ago that she was young herself, and it feels that a lot of Ms. Marvel stories are very autobiographical in a lot of ways, and I think that only speaks to the strength of it. It's really good. It's really solid. I hope people are happy that I finally got a chance to catch up on it, because I know I'm happy about it. As always, down in the comment section down below, tell me, what did you enjoy about this story arc, and what story arcs would you like to see me cover in the future for an episode of the story so far, because I would love to hear them, and I would definitely love to cover them. And until next time, everyone, this has been Cape Joel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will be back again next time. Bye-bye.